Some Americans eagerly awaiting their third round of government stimulus checks are voicing concerns with two banks over distribution delays. JP Morgan Chase and Wells Fargo say that the issues are out of their control, but other banks have already started sending out the money. Eligible Americans stand to receive as much as $1,400 each. And this comes as President Biden, Vice President Harris, and their spouses plan to travel to several states, some of which are politically important to tout the nearly $2 trillion relief package. Besides the stimulus checks, the legislation includes several other funding initiatives. So for more on all of this, the economic relief package, the details, I want to bring in Sarah Ewall-Wice. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, Sarah, so we'll get into what's going on with the banks in a little bit, but what are some of the other elements of this package that we may not have heard a lot about, and what kinds of individuals and specific industries hopefully will benefit from this deal?
Right, so I think we've all heard obviously about those checks by now. We've also heard about the Paycheck Protection Program for small businesses, but there are other very specific initiatives involved in this package, one of them being direct relief for restaurants. We know that the leisure and hospitality industry has been extremely hard hit by this pandemic. Restaurants had to close for an extended period of time. They also are now operating on a more limited capacity. So this gives about $29 billion in direct relief to them in the form of grants. There are also funds specifically to concert venues and performance venues, which have now really been shut down for about a year. There's also funding specifically for venues that are museums as well as other arts organizations that have also had to close and are now running on a more limited capacity. Additionally, something that people might not know are your unemployment benefits are taxable. Some provision that is included in this is a exemption for the first $10,200 of those unemployment benefits. So those who have been out of work, have been hard hit by this pandemic, were suddenly in tax season and they're seeing surprise billing. So this bill directly relates to them in that it gives them additional relief from those surprise bills that they're suddenly getting in the mail when they go to file their taxes with the tax season we're currently in. There are also provisions for travel and other smaller bits in this here and there that will directly target specific industries moving forward.
So according to the nonpartisan think tank Tax Policy Center, the American Rescue Plan would deliver more tax cuts to middle and lower income Americans compared to what happened with the Republicans' 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Can you explain a little more about that?
Sure. Well, we do know that this pandemic has been disproportionately impacting lower income Americans and middle income Americans, as well as people with children, just by its nature. So this does specifically address those groups of people. We do know that the average tax cut from this bill, according to the analysis, is about $3,000. It said that people making $91,000 or less are seeing about 70% of the tax cuts. The 2017 bill, about half of it went to the top 5%. Some of the specifics in this package that are targeting low and middle income Americans are, as we've mentioned, those $1,400 checks. Those are for people making $75,000 or less, or couples $150,000 or less. They also expanded the child tax credit. That was actually expanded as well in the Trump tax bill, but this makes it even larger, as well as brings in people who were perhaps not eligible for it before because they were earning too little. It also expands the earned income tax credit. So it is very targeted to the folks who have been hurt the most during this pandemic.
Of course, it's very expensive, and we've been hearing from Republicans about just how expensive it is. Republicans saying, hey, there's all kinds of stuff in there that doesn't have a direct connection to the COVID economic crisis that we're in. There has got to be concerns about just how we're going to pay for all of this. Anyone raising red flags?
There are definitely people raising red flags, both Republicans and also some former Democratic administration officials as well. What you'll see is this basically builds on the debt we already have. It's $1.9 trillion bill, but they didn't include pay-fors in it because they're essentially calling this a rescue plan. They're saying if we don't do something now, we will have a further concern. These are the Biden administration officials. They want to get us back on the road to recovery before digging into a greater economic crisis. But there are folks who are raising concerns about about putting so much money also into the economy. They question whether it will cause inflation, essentially raising prices. If you speak to administration officials, they say they're keeping a close eye on that. They haven't raised red flags there, and they say they have measures they can take should that arise in the future. Of course, this is just the first step, according to the Biden administration, going forward with the recovery. And so basically, they've already acknowledged that in future measures they would like to pass, potentially infrastructure being one of them, they are looking for ways to pay for it. That could be in the form of tax increases down the pipeline. The Treasury Secretary has mentioned the corporate tax rate as well as others they're examining for pay-fors moving forward. And of course, some lawmakers, including Democrats, said if they do pass future legislation, they do want to see how it's going to be paid for as we get a mounting debt and have to address the deficit going forward.
Exactly. You can't run from that. Sarah, thank you very much.